I stopped myself from commenting on the menu of food items that they'll be having at the Bristol Motor Speedway at the Food City 500. Hey, Food City 500, you ought to have a lot of food items, right? If you have the STP 500, you ought to have a lot of, motor oil and detergent additives and fuel additives in your lying around just to choose for your car, right? I mean, that's maybe some Studebakers. It is, after all, Studebaker's treatment of petroleum, right? I mean, that's actually a myth, isn't it? That it is Studebaker treatment of petroleum, something. Anyway, but my hiney is so shiny. I was going to talk about that. I thought that the gangsta egg roll that they're going to have at BMS was in poor taste. The toilet paper ad, my hiney is so shiny. Well, I don't think that I can ever be called someone in poor taste, because the bar has been lowered to a standard that I truly do not wish to lower myself to. All right. I'm Marky Billson, Tri-City Sports Now. And as I said, Brandon Feathers, was mentioning this, shut out Dobyns-Bennett for Science Hill, 1-0 last night. And that moves the Hilltoppers to 7-0 in the Big Seven Conference. And that means that they're 2 games ahead at 5-2 of both Dobyns-Bennett, the team that Feathers beat in a first-place showdown, as well as the Tennessee Vikings, who also are quite talented. Now, I also mentioned that the Unicoi County softball team was victorious against David Crockett, and the Unicoi County softball team is in second place by a half game in the Three Rivers Conference, behind undefeated in the conference Elizabethton. However, Elizabethton's one-loss record, just to repeat myself here, for the people watching online, is 8-7, and Unicoi County's is 7-5 in softball. Here are the sponsors, as promised, of Unicoi County Sports on 1420 NBC Sports Radio Tri-Cities. Health and Home Care, Irwin Paint and Body, Unicoi County Insurance Agency, Clinchfield Federal Credit Union, Dr. Jason Cunningham, Urgent Care of Irwin, Lance DeBoard, Barnes Exterminating, the Kiwanis Club of Irwin, the Unicoi County Town Officials, Irwin Utilities, Unicoi County Gas Utility District, the Computer Guy in Irwin. I rave about the Computer Guy. Relay for Life of Unicoi County. You hear their ads all on Unicoi County Sports, broadcast on 1420 NBC Sports Radio Tri-Cities. That's WEMB, WXIS, Jet Broadcasting. All right. Let's talk about here. I mentioned baseball here before, and I see where Mark Littell is joining us here. Hey, we're talking about the Royals. How would you have liked to have come in to a 10-0 game where the other pitcher was throwing a one-hit shutout? I'll bet that Dennis Leonard wouldn't have liked that much back then, huh? Anyway, I was mentioning the baseball before, and the one thing, though, I wanted to say about those high school baseball games, and it's a question that I guess gets under my skin, is why is high school baseball, which is producing, a player like Feathers to a major college program, I believe he's going to Radford, is he not? When we have a guy like Kaz Blevins over at University High who threw the perfect game against Cloudland, and he's being looked at as a major college prospect. When we have a Justin Grimm, speaking of the Royals, Justin Grimm, now with the Royals, from Bristol in the major leagues. When we have a Daniel Norris in the major leagues. When I talk about things like it's the 100th anniversary of Limestone, Tennessee's own Tilly Walker tying Babe Ruth for the American League Home Run Championship in the dead ball era, right? When I talk about things like that, I mean, we've had a lot of, maybe not a lot of great baseball players. We've had some great baseball players. I would argue that Walker, although not a Hall of Famer, was a great baseball player. He was the first player in the A's franchise history to hit 100 home runs. Think about that. Now, that's a million years ago. People tell me, don't talk about that. Okay, fine. Yeah, what? And Ed Whitson was a fine pitcher from Irwin, Tennessee. I mean, there have been a lot of nice ball players that have come not just through the Appalachian League, but really locally based Tri-Cities baseball players. I put together an all-time team of them once. Couldn't find a catcher. I had to go to Strawberry Plains outside of Knoxville. You have Ed Bailey catch on my Upper East Tennessee team. But other than that, or my regional team. Is there a catcher that's come from Southwest Virginia in recent years? And it leads me to think, why is high school basketball talked about so highly around here, but high school baseball largely ignored? To me, that 1-0 Feathers shutout of Dobyns-Bennett, that's as good as it gets in local high school athletics around here. Meanwhile, you get basketball games. They're usually one-sided. There's no shot clock, archaic rules. There's never been a player from the Tri-Cities that has made the NBA. Not one. In the history of the NBA, not one player from the NBA, from the Tri-Cities in the NBA. Tons of baseball players I shouldn't say tons, that's inaccurate. But you've got, I mentioned a home run champion, I could tell you a batting champion. Now I realize baseball has a much longer history. When Dale Alexander from Greenville led the American League in hitting, the NBA hadn't been created yet. I get that. Okay, fine, But still, there have been there are 2 major league pitchers right now from the area. There's never been an NBA player. Hence, why do we hold high school basketball around here more than high school baseball? What is that? More comfortable sitting inside? I mean, what's the deal there? Instead of on a 50-degree day here, well, in about a week or two, tomorrow isn't it supposed to get, I guess now the initial reports of a nice warm day. I don't know. I don't pay that much attention to the weather. But, I do know that in May there'll be flowers right after the April showers. And there will be some high school baseball games. And they will be for major stakes in the season. And they'll be fun to watch and pleasant to attend. Much more pleasant than your typical, Dobyns-Bennett, David Crockett 60-19 game. So, why do we, and I realize that's pre-Patrick Good that I'm referring to right there, but nevertheless, why do we hold high school basketball in such high regard over high school baseball? Makes no sense to me. None. High school baseball is played at a much higher level around here. I mentioned before, just to go on, a couple of weeks ago, I went down since 1989 when the Johnson City Press, they ran their Upper East Tennessee High School Basketball Player of the Year. And in the entire history of that award, dating back to 1989, or at least that's what they listed it, there has been only one player in those 30 years that actually played 4 years of D1 basketball. Ryan Lawson, East Tennessee State. Yeah, he committed the turnover in the NCAA tournament game. Yeah, it cost him game against Wake Forest. That and Tim Smith's selfishness at the end. Okay, yeah, I got that. Okay. Still, I think Patrick Good, he's had 1 year under his belt at Appalachian State, transferred to ETSU. Barring unforeseen circumstances, you'd expect him to play 3 years at ETSU. I do get that, okay? But, Shane Williams played 2 years at Tennessee. Giovanni Johnson, the great Giovanni Johnson, 6 games at UMass. That's it. Demetrius Stevens, why doesn't ETSU sign him? Well, because he's going to go to Lees McRae, and that's where he's going to top out at. That's why. He's not a D1 player. History of the 30 years, one player has played 4 years, but yet you've got, guys on major league staffs right now. You've got pitchers in the World Series. Some have... It makes no sense. Why would high school basketball be viewed as higher, on a higher plane than high school basketball right now? Makes absolutely no sense. It should stop. Yeah, so that's my rant today on why high school baseball, why baseball in general is better than basketball. NBA has 2 more games. Good. And I'm glad. They still have the NCAA tournament is over, but they're still playing a regular season. That's wonderful, isn't it? Hockey playoffs are coming up. I'll get into those tomorrow, I think. But today, I want to close the show. I still want to talk about my Danica Patrick story. And I do have some very intriguing, at least I think it's intriguing, college football news, where the Vols could wind up. It's Tri-City Sports Now. I'm Marky Billson. I'm coming back after this.